How's it going, everybody? It's Polyfame, and we are back with another FPL live stream. And today, we're going to be looking at how we did in Game Week 6 and the preview for Game Week 7. We didn't do too well. This week, we got a red arrow, but it wasn't as bad as what had initially hoped, basically. Or not hoped, initially had expected, I would say. And Brighton kind of came through with a few points at the very last minute. Veltman, the hero, allowed me to not get as big of a red arrow as what initially I had thought was going to happen. Before the Brighton game, it was looking like the big green arrow we had last week was going to be completely mitigated and worsened. Yeah, we managed to scrape through with only half that, which is okay. I think, given the situation and based on the points that we had going into this last game of the day. But we come out with an okay score, still below the average, but you're going to get red arrows from week to week, and yeah, hopefully we can end up fixing that. But before we start stream, let's talk about Fantasy Football Scout. So, Fantasy Football Scout is a fantastic place to check your various different stats tables. It can allow you to check different players, compare them, show heat maps, and anything that is going to be super useful to help elevate your FPL game. You use the link in the About section, or if you're watching this VOD over on YouTube, use the link down in the description below, and you can get yourself Fantasy Football Scout membership. I believe it's around £25 for the whole year, which is fantastic value, and they even give you a discount if you get it during the preseason as well. So, and you get access no matter what time you got it. You get the access to the same stuff as everybody does, no matter when you get it. It's going to help elevate your FPL game. It's allowed me to make the videos more informative as well, the streams more informative, and all that sort of stuff. So make sure to check it out. And without further ado, let's get into it. So I know for a fact that a lot of my stuff isn't ready to go. And I apologize for that, because we are late. There we go. We definitely don't have a red arrow. I'm just gonna bring it up on a another screen here. How's the old webcam? Webcam looks okay. I don't see anything there. Where are we? I gotta bring up live FPL so you can see how I break things down, how I update it on the fly. So we ended up with a total of 44 points, which isn't ideal. Which was, I believe, 6 less than the safety score, which was exactly 50. Which is, you know, we would like to get 50 points at a bare minimum every week, given certain circumstances. That's typically kind of a decent score, no matter what game week it is. Unless the average is like 80, in which case it's not too great. But for most weeks, 50 is going to be about right. Our game week rank is going to be 3.36 million, which isn't great. 3.36, not K, that'd be great. Million. That's about right. The overall number of points that we have is 437. We have a red arrow, which isn't always great. So 437. If I did the math correctly. Yeah, 437. Our new rank is 56,137. So 56,137. So again, on paper, it's a really bad red arrow. In terms of percentage-wise, but overall, it's not terrible. We're still just barely near the top 50k. If I look on live FPL, off the top 50k is literally 1 point. Off the top 10k is only 16 points. That can change. But if you look at the amount, the size of the red arrow from our previous rank, which is just outside the top 30k, it's 85% drop, which this would be as if you were at 200k and you dropped to like 400k or like 375k. It's that kind of equivalency, which, you know, isn't great, but we move as some of the people in the FPL community would say. But yeah, here's the team on the screen here. Now that we've got all the technical issues, as it were, out of the way. This is the team. So Sanchez actually only ended up getting 1 point, but he managed to get a bonus point because he got booked and they conceded 1 goal. So just the 2 points from Sanchez. He literally only gets 2s or 6s. That's basically kind of how it works out, except for this one time where he got 1. But yeah, 2-6, 2-6, and then 2 back-to-back no clean sheets. Arsenal at home. I mean, Arsenal looked pretty good versus Spurs, but we'll see kind of how he shapes out. He does have Norwich the following week, which is potentially going to be a lot of wild carders weeks, and they might be getting rid of him before that Norwich game, which could be interesting. The back line, not great at all. Trent only getting just the 1 point. Luke Shaw, 0 points, came off after getting booked. Didn't play well at all. And just has been somewhat of a disappointment in FPL this season, unfortunately. Veltman with the 7 points, an absolute hero, getting an assist and 2 bonus points rather. He has been an absolute hero. I can't thank him enough for making my game week not as bad as what it could have been. Personally, and he was one of our highest scorers, our second highest scorer alongside Salah, who ends up hurting my rank anyway. Fornals, very disappointing, just the 1 point. West Ham were just disappointing overall. Antonio ends up getting the goal himself to take them over the line. Ben Rama not getting anything there, but he did end up getting a bonus point, which shows you how well he actually played. It was either going to be Fornals or Zaha for me personally. When you look back at the footage that I had in my lineup preview, I showed Fornals. I was thinking Greenwood as well, but just wasn't really sure on United. And Zaha would have still allowed me to get a Chelsea defender, so it was going to be between him and Fornals. So, and if Rafinha was fit, I would have gone for him, but I wasn't sure on him, so I put him to the wayside for the time being. But assuming he's fit, he's probably going to be on my wild card. Sarr getting 9 points, fantastic. Salah, he scored, but him and Jota burnt me this week pretty badly. All things considered, those two and the Wolves game were the ones that burnt me probably the most, points-wise. Had either Salah or if Jota hadn't scored and it had been somebody else, I would have been probably on a very small red arrow. But things are going to happen. Jota should have scored last week. He should have potentially scored twice this week. So I would say probably a bit fortunate there. But, I mean, Jota's just not very good at finishing, is he? Also, his chance that he did score was quite fortunate because it's poor defending again. Just head the cross, basically. It's pretty straightforward. At least that's what defenders are supposed to do, right? And, yeah, Salah getting the goal. He was over 100% effective ownership, which means any points that he did get were marginally affecting my rank. So when he did score, wasn't the greatest. But again, what can you do? That's what's going to happen with heavy hitters in some weeks. Danny Ings, just the 2 points. Could have potentially had some chances had the ball. Danny Ings is it's one of those what ifs. Like, had this ball been played across at the perfect time or at a certain time, could he have potentially got something? And maybe he could have. Antonio with the goal. Again, pretty happy with him this season. He's basically returned in every game that he's played that he hasn't been. Well, he literally has. He's returned in every game that he hasn't been suspended or red carded in, basically. So he's doing quite well. And then Ronaldo was, again, it's not his fault that he didn't get any returns. It was literally he just didn't get the ball, basically. And that's been a story of United over several seasons, basically. Just the forward does the graveyard shift, and they just have to hope and pray that they can get the ball in decent situations. And when you have Mason Greenwood shooting 8 times, Pogba shooting 6 times, Bruno shooting 6 times, and they're all mostly from outside the box or at ridiculous angles, I'd be a bit upset if I was Ronaldo. And then a lot of people would talk about, oh yeah, they'll laugh at United fans, or they'll laugh at the fact that Bruno Fernandes missed a penalty. I don't even care that he missed a penalty, to be honest. The performance was so bad it didn't even warrant a point. The stuff on social media where it's like, oh, we'll come back stronger, and all that sort of stuff. Me personally, I don't care. Just prove it on the pitch. I don't want to see social media posts just go out there and prove it on the pitch. If some like Pogba said previously, he says he knows when he has a bad game. He doesn't need people on social media to tell him that. We can tell that, Bruno missing the penalty doesn't mean he's necessarily had the best of games if he's missed a penalty. We can see that with our own eyes. You don't need to be going and abusing people and saying they had a bad game. You can just say, hey, look, Bruno had a bad game. We can acknowledge it. And we just need to, hopefully, as if you're a player and this situation happens, just go and just say, I'm going to prove it next time. You don't need to be going on social media and trying to get people trying to say, oh, don't worry about it, it's fine. People are already saying that after the game anyway. They were mainly talking about the performance, how poor it was, and how poor they've been over the last 4 games. One of those games we managed to scrape a win. Had Noble not missed his penalty, it would have been a draw there. And United have lost 3 out of the last 4 games. So it can happen to anyone. It can go against you. Same with FPL. You can have bad weeks. You're never going to have necessarily the best team on paper. But at the end of the day, you just got to keep going and keep making informed decisions. And eventually, things will go right for you. And that's kind of how it works. So, kind of speech, rant, whatever you want to call it, over. But yeah, 44 points, not ideal. But it's okay, because I think our team is looking okay going into this week. So let's take a look now at how our predictions did. I'm very interested to see how this one went, personally, because last week we didn't do nearly as well as what we have been doing for our predictions. So this is our tweet that we had here. I'm just going to maneuver it up a little bit so that you can see it. There we go. And we'll move over here. So, these were the scores for Game Week 6. And these were our predictions. So, if you don't know how it works, basically, you get 3 points if you get the exact result right. So, had I predicted a 1-0 for the Chelsea-Man City game, the other way around, I would have got 3 points. If you get just the result right, but not the score right, so if I had predicted City won 2-0 versus Chelsea rather than 1-0, I would get just the 1 point, and anything else is 0 points. So our first few game weeks we were doing quite well. 9, 11, 10, 11, and 7 was our only bad-ish game week in Game Week 5. I think that was the only one. I think we did still predict a correct score. But typically what we want to do is get 5 results correct, at least, at a bare minimum. So we want to get at least 50% of them right, results-wise. And then we want to get an exact score right, which will put us on an average of around 8 points or so. That's kind of the hope. But yeah, Man City versus Chelsea went 1-0 the other way around. City played fantastic. I thought Cancelo was excellent. I thought Bernardo Silva was excellent. I thought Grealish had a fantastic game. And I just thought Chelsea controlled and defended well when out of possession. I think they've really missed a little bit of energy in the park, so Mason Mount's injury probably didn't help. And I think that they had chances to potentially score. They were half chances, and same with City. But all things considered, City were definitely deserving of the win. So nothing there. And same with the United game. United, I thought it was the complete opposite. United didn't deserve a point at all. They deserved 0. United have had over 50 shots in their last 2 games and haven't scored a goal. So that shows you that either they're taking shots in ridiculous positions or their shot selection is terrible. And I think both are somewhat true. But I predicted 2-1. Aston Villa won 1-0. And I thought Aston Villa were fantastic. I thought they were fantastic versus Chelsea as well. I think they played them in the Carabao Cup too as well. So nothing there. Everton versus Norwich, I predicted 3-0. Norwich only conceded 2, which is probably better morale for them. So just the 1 point there. West Ham, I predicted 3-2 over Leeds, ended up being 2-1. So same margin, but less goals in that one. So just the 1 point there. Leicester versus Burnley, I predicted 2-1. I think Burnley got a late winner, or late equalizer in that one, and they could have actually gone ahead if I remember correctly. Who scored in this game? No, it was Vardy who ended up getting a... It was Leicester came back, and Burnley almost nicked it at the end with Chris Wood, but he was just barely offside, so we got that one wrong. Watford and Newcastle, predicted 3-1 Watford. It ended up being just 1-1, so nothing going for us there. Brentford and Liverpool. Liverpool in a shootout with Brentford. See, the thing is, with Liverpool as an example, Liverpool will be disappointed with just a point, But they'll look at the situation and say, hey, we played our game, Brentford played theirs, we went toe-to-toe with each other. They played well, we played well, no real complaints there. Whereas the complete opposite for the likes of United, as an example, you know, it just didn't go well. Same with Spurs. Spurs, Arsenal just didn't go. Like, Spurs just didn't play well, and Arsenal did. So, pretty one-sided there. So we got that one wrong. Southampton versus Wolves. Again, I predicted a draw. Wolves end up getting the 1-0 victory there. Spurs versus Arsenal. I predicted 1-1. It ended up being 3-1 to Arsenal. Arsenal absolutely blitzing Spurs. So again, got that one wrong. And then Crystal Palace Brighton ended up being 1-1. I predicted 2-1. So again, we got just 2 points. I don't think I've ever got any that low, which shows you how bad of a FPL week. So if I predicted all of these the way the games would go, that shows you that my FPL team's probably going to do bad too. So 2 points. I don't think I've ever got any that low ever. That means I was 20% on the predictions, which is absolutely abysmal. And hopefully we can do better next week. For the clean sheet, Chelsea, nope. I don't believe Begovic played. No, Pickford ended up playing, so he was not a good differential. Pickford was back. Zuma for West Ham. I thought he played good, but didn't keep a clean sheet. Sancho didn't even play, which is just weird. And then Rondon, I don't think got anything either. So yeah, we didn't do too hot on the predictions. We didn't do well at all. But yeah, it was definitely a very interesting week. United showing their frailties. Chelsea showing that they are able to be beaten and scored against. Although in somewhat fortuitous circumstances with Jesus kind of bounced off a player or two and went in the goal. But it shows that if Chelsea go behind, they might not necessarily be able to come back because they don't typically score more than a couple goals anyway. But City can score against anyone, clearly. Everton getting the customary win over Norwich. I think Norwich are already starting to show what they were a couple seasons ago in the Premier League and potentially getting relegated. West Ham getting the win over Leeds. Exactly what they needed. Leeds, I think, went up early with the Rafinha goal, which was a well-taken goal. But you know, a mistake leading to a goal, mostly. Leicester's form is poor, just all things considered, and I think the Europa League's not going to help that. Newcastle managed to nick a point. Brentford getting a point is great. Southampton will probably be disappointed to be losing to Wolves. Spurs are behind Arsenal now, and Arsenal lost the first 3 games in the season. And then Brighton with the late comeback, with the just kind of bowl in over the top that kind of just fell to Mope, and he then dinked the keeper and it was in. So yeah, very interesting stuff overall. Let me adjust this just a little bit here. That's not what I want to do. That's not what I want to do. There we go. Make that a little bit bigger. Right. So, these are the fixtures for this week. Let me just move the notepad just a little bit. There we go. So, I don't even have my clean sheet and differential picks down at the moment. I don't even have them down because I was rushing, and we can always do them on the fly, as it were. But yeah, Man United, Everton. Man United versus Everton. I think United will still win the game. I think the last time United played Everton on an 8:30 kickoff was when they played at Goodison Park, and it was when Solskjaer was under the cosh as well. He would definitely be under pressure if United were to not get maximum points versus Villarreal in midweek. And I think that they're going to have to win this game. And I think they can do. I don't think Everton's all that good, personally. I think they played a bunch of teams that are beatable. And they just have better players. So like Norwich, as an example, they had like a 3-goal, just like Fiesta in like 8 minutes versus Aston Villa, who just lost their way for that brief period of time. And I think defensively they are fallible. So I think United get a couple of goals in this one. I don't think they keep a clean sheet, so I'm going to go United 2-1. I think United will mostly be in control, and then they'll give up a kind of a waste of a goal, and then ultimately win the game. Burnley versus Norwich. I think this could easily be a game where, you're looking at 3 points is a must for Norwich, personally, if they want to stay out of the relegation zone or not be put in a relegation battle so early on. And I think they need to get something from it. I think Burnley are definitely there to be got at. And I think both of these teams will be looking at 3 points. Me, personally, I just can't see Burnley losing to Norwich. I think they'll just be too strong for them. I'm just going to go with a classic Burnley 1-0. When they need a 1-0 the most, a little Chris Wood goal, they usually get it. Southampton versus Chelsea. I think Chelsea will resume as per normal. I think Southampton, show that they are still decent defensively, although they did concede just the 1 goal to Wolves, who haven't been the greatest in terms of finishing chances, but Raul Jimenez with his finally his first goal of the season. I still think Chelsea will win the game, though. I think 2-0 is probably a comfortable scoreline for them. Leeds versus Watford. Now, this could favor Watford heavily. They do like to hit teams on the counterattack. And I think that Leeds' free-flowing football could allow for that. Leeds will be more inclined to push forward at home. And I think Leeds, potentially, with their defensive woes, could allow the likes of Sarr and Dennis and King to hit them on the break with fast ball progression and allow them to get those chances that they need to secure the game. So, I think both teams are fallible defensively. Watford specifically away from home. Ben Foster, the goal he conceded to Newcastle. I mean, it was a great strike, but he should be saving it. He literally pushes it into the goal, basically. He tries to get real force on it, and all he has to do is tip it, and it's not going to go in anyway. So I think it's going to be a higher scoring game, but I think it's going to be a draw. I mean, if Watford scored 32 goals, I would hope Sarr scored 29 of them. But I think 2-2 is probably what the result's going to be. Wolves versus Newcastle. I think Wolves' defense is still there to be split apart by a good player like St. Maximin. So I think it's just going to be a 1-1. I think the Wolves will probably get a goal, but I think Newcastle will probably do exactly what they did versus Watford as well. Brighton versus Arsenal. I mean, both teams have been playing pretty well. Arsenal more recently, obviously, because they lost the first 3 games of the season. But I think Brighton is definitely good value at home here. I think Arsenal could potentially struggle because Brighton is so solid defensively. I think this is the type of game where Aubameyang could get kind of potentially swallowed up unless they try to get in behind on the right-hand side. I think that would be like, Saka or Pepe there. But I think Brighton might just be too good at home, to be honest. I think that Arsenal will... I'm not even sure Arsenal score. Because I think the teams they scored against, they got a free kick versus Burnley. They got a goal versus Norwich, which was kind of just bundled in. And the 3 goals they scored from Spurs, yes, they were beautifully developed goals, but they had a lot of space. Brighton's not going to give you space. The goal that they conceded to Crystal Palace was a penalty. So I think Brighton probably win this by a narrow margin. I'm actually going to go 1-0, personally. I think Brighton have been playing well. Had they won tonight, they would have been top of the table. So that shows you how well they've been playing. Crystal Palace versus Leicester. I think Palace are going to give Leicester a game here. I can potentially see them picking up at least a point. I just think Leicester defensively, potentially tired from midweek and on Thursday. I can see Palace getting something here. I'm going to go with a 1-1 as well. They might get something on the break, or Leicester maybe make a mistake and they score. I think Palace will end up getting a point from this game as well. Spurs versus Villa. Now, I mean, somebody's got to eventually win at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, apart from Alexander Usyk, that belongs there. So AJ lost to Usyk. If you follow boxing, you know. If you know, you know. And the stadium has been designed for Champions League football. It's one of the best stadiums, if not the best stadium in the world at the moment in terms of, new age architecture, or whatever you want to call it. And Spurs need to start winning because their goal difference is -6, and they won their first 3 games. So I'm just not convinced that they're going to be able to beat Aston Villa. I think Aston Villa were very good versus United, deserved the 3 points. I think they deserved at least something maybe versus Chelsea, and they played well in that game as well. And I think that with this new 3-5-2 system, they're able to control games and cause opponents problems. They just need the likes of Watkins and the fullbacks to get the ball more often to Danny Ings, or get Danny Ings in better positions, and then they will be able to cause teams problems. I think Aston Villa are definitely good for a goal in this game, maybe even 2 potentially. So I'm going to go Aston Villa to win this game, actually 2-1. I think that they're going to get an upset here and come back and continue their surge on after the United win as well. Because also Spurs, I think, have the Conference League as well on Thursday, so they'll probably rest some players in that, but who knows? They may play some first-string team players in there as well, because right now they can't even play well with their first team, so we'll see. West Ham versus Brentford. Now this is a very intriguing one because Brentford showed that they can go toe-to-toe with some of the best attacks in the league, and most notably Liverpool. They showed that they can bring the heat when they need to. Ivan Toney was borderline bullying Matip in the air, and even some against Virgil van Dijk as well was getting the better of him, and he is just an absolute threat in the air. And I think that against Kurt Zuma and Ogbonna, 2 defenders that are also very, very tall, very good in the air, it's going to be a very interesting battle for that matchup there. So I think this could be a very close game. I think Brentford will probably score, but I think West Ham will end up getting the victory, all things considered. And I think 2-1 is the likely scoreline. Now, lastly, Liverpool versus Man City, the big game of the week. Man City, a very tough week. They had Chelsea on the weekend. They got PSG tomorrow, and then they got Liverpool. All those games are away from home. Very, very tough week for Man City. But they are definitely good enough to get it. I think this could personally be a very, very tactical battle. I think you have Liverpool who are going to want to let City have the ball and try and break. I think Liverpool are definitely good for a goal in this one as well. And I think that Man City are also good for a goal to break down Liverpool. And I think it's just going to ultimately end in a stalemate. I'm just going to go with a 1-1 draw in this one. Doesn't sound very exciting, but I think there'll be a lot more potential goals in it than there are actual goals. That's just kind of my opinion on that front. Clean sheet for this week. My only differential clean sheet is going to be Brighton and Burnley. So I'm going to go with Burnley versus Norwich. I mean, the versus Norwich, so I think that it is definitely possible for them to keep a clean sheet. Just moving over to the transfer screen here. Now, goalkeepers that could keep a clean sheet this week would be, well, excuse me, based off of my 3 teams that are keeping a clean sheet. You got Burnley, you got Brighton, and you got Crystal Palace. So Nick Pope, maybe? Nick Pope it is, 2.9%. We'll go with him as the differential for the week. We try to pick players that are less than 5% owned as a differential pick. In defense, I actually, what is the cost of this guy? I thought he was excellent tonight, apart from the yellow card. Cucurella, I think is how you pronounce his name. He's been fantastic. I think he adds an insane amount of dynamic, pace and running power and creativity from that left-hand side in that left wing-back position. And when Lamptey gets back, he's only going to get better, and he's going to be flying into the box as well for stuff at the back post. So I think he could potentially have a massive game versus Arsenal, and he's going to really put a test on the likes of Tomiyasu and Saka if he plays it, because Saka has been at fault for a few of Arsenal's goals in terms of not tracking back or giving the adequate coverage that Arsenal have needed on their right side of their defense. In midfield this week, who are we going to go for? I'm just taking a look back again at the fixtures here. Who could we go for that would be a good differential pick? Well, I know one. I don't think he's more than 5% owned, and he just recently came back and had a slight price drop. It's Phil Foden. And Phil Foden, the last time I remember when they absolutely smashed up Liverpool after they had already won the league or whatever, Phil Foden was instrumental in that win, and I think he got a decent FPL haul that night too. But I think Phil Foden could be a very good differential. A lot of managers are looking at who is going to be their City player come this this wild card, or excuse me again, the yawns need to go away. Come the game week 8 wild card. They're looking for, do they want Grealish? Is Torres an option still? We're slowly running out of midfielders in this price bracket, and Foden could emerge as one of these ones that is that good and play that kind of left-sided central role, or like he did versus Liverpool, play as the false 9, which he did quite well. And then the forward line. I think Liverpool are definitely fallible, and I think Odsonne-Edouard showed that he is fantastic. I mean, he brings a lot more running power than the likes of Benteke. He shows that he is very crisp with his touch in and around the box, and I think he could definitely get something from Leicester, and I'm keeping an eye on him because at 6.5 million he could be a very nice price with Arsenal, Newcastle, and then Wolves, Burnley, Aston Villa, and Leeds before they play Man United with Man City in there. Could be a very good bargain at that price point. So yeah, those are our differential picks and predictions for the week. We will post those over in the community section on YouTube, as well as over on Twitter, as we normally do. So let's just move that out of the way and take a look at our team. That is the team: Sanchez in goal, Veltman, Shaw, Alexander-Arnold, Fornals, Benrahma, Sarr, Salah, Ings, Antonio, Ronaldo. Gilmore potentially coming in as a potential sub. Ayling or Shaw getting removed for that. And then fixture-wise, I mentioned them, but basically every time that Raya has a FDR4 or a bad fixture, Guaita has a good one. So like when Guaita, as an example, has Man City away in game week 10, Raya has Burnley. So again, and that goes for pretty much the whole season. There are a couple times where they both kind of play somewhat stiff opposition, and it's like, not great. Like I think there's one week where one plays Leicester, one plays Arsenal, which isn't ideal. But yeah, apologies for the for the notepad. What I'll do is I'll actually leave or I'll cut that portion out of the video, and we'll potentially go a little bit longer than normal because we were late. Just all over the place today. Just been a bad game week, bad start to the week. Hopefully game week 7 brings good luck for us eventually, but we shall see. But back on track, defenders. Here we go. So Chelsea defenders you can see on our watch list now that I don't have the notepad up. We have Alonso, we have Antonio Rudiger, we have Azpilicueta, and we have Reece James. Now, Reece James, we knew he was starting game in, game out. I think he would be quite good. But he also is the cheapest because he is also potentially the most rotation risk as well, I think. I think you can play a numerous number of players there. Reece James can play there. Azpilicueta can play there. Chalobah's played there. Hudson-Odoi's played there. Pulisic has played there. So me personally, if I was going to go for one of their right-sided defenders, I'm going to go for Azpilicueta just for safety. Just pay the $6 million. He's going to play right wing back or right center back. He's going to play basically every game. And Azpilicueta's no slouch from set pieces either. He does tend to nick a goal every now and again and can make those deep lying plays into the forward and potentially pick up an assist every now and again. And we'll rack up some bonus points because he does complete a lot of passes. And then the other player I'm going to go for is probably the next safest, which is Antonio Rudiger, because I think Alonso will eventually start to see some rotation the later the season goes on with Ben Chilwell. And whether that becomes Alonso becomes more important in the bigger games, and then Chilwell's in the easier games, that is soon to be found out. But I think with Chelsea and City, you kind of have to go at least two. If you're going 3 of their defenders in total, 2 of them have to be safe. And I think the easiest ones to go for is Azpilicueta and Antonio Rudiger. The other defender I would say to go for as a Man City defender is João Cancelo, and that's just because his numbers are just absolutely bonkers. 12 point, look, 6 points, 6 points, 12 points, 6 points, 6 points. Basically, when he gets an assist, he gets 3 bonus points. Literally, that's kind of how it works. And he's been fantastic on that left back side, bulking out the midfield for Pep Guardiola. And I think he could do fantastic over, the big spell of fixtures that they have that span across from Game Week 26 from Game Week 8. Like, yeah, they have Man United. Yeah, they have West Ham. Yeah, they have Arsenal and Chelsea in that. But City could easily beat every single team. Maybe Man United will give them difficulty. Maybe Chelsea again will give them difficulty. But all things considered, you're going to see a lot of clean sheets and a lot of victories and a lot of points for Man City in this one for that run. And I think Cancelo is going to be great. And he would be the risky one that I would go for. I wouldn't be going like Reece James, Alonso, Cancelo. Although that conceptually seems fantastic on paper, there might be rotations and that sort of stuff. Whereas Azpilicueta and Antonio Rudiger are going to play pretty much most games. And then the last defender, I wanted to go for Diaz, but I think structurally it probably makes more sense to go with a cheaper option here that you can rely on. In some cases, and that is going to be Livramento. And I'm actually going to add him to the watch list. I forgot to add him because I just didn't pay attention to Southampton, to be honest. But like some of the games, like if we look at Cancelo, when he plays against Man United away, that could be a tricky fixture in Game Week 11. Livramento has Aston Villa at home, which I would probably play him over the likes of Cancelo potentially in that one. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see how we manage that. When City players or these big players, like Trent as an example, has a bad game, or on paper would seemingly have a bad game, do we still play the likes of Livramento, or do we go for Cancelo? There's still at least the option there, and I think Livramento's fixtures are decent in the medium term, so he's going to be still good value at 4.2 million. I think he's definitely better to go over than Duffy, because I don't see him getting rotated. I do see Duffy getting rotated potentially later on in the season. Livramento is just so good. In midfield, now there's a lot of cheap players that have been emerging that we have on our watch list. One of those is Rafinha. Yes, he is currently injured at the moment, or has a flag on him at least, and came off with some ice packs on his legs. But I think Rafinha's got to be there if he's fit. 6.5 million. You're not going to get much better value. His fixtures are fantastic. You're going to be keeping him for quite some time, and he is kind of the guy that does it all. Then it comes down to who else you want in your midfield. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can spin it. You can go for one more expensive midfielder, and then go for a much cheaper midfielder, and then like a 4.5, and then go with like one striker up top. Or you can go with a bunch of cheapies and kind of swap them out. One thing that I will say is that Brownhill, someone who plays week in, week out, and is 4.4 million, he's going to get you 2 points. If you look at him, he only played 11 minutes in the first game week, but 90 minutes every week, just seems to play all the time. If he's fit, he's gonna play. He's just gonna be someone who's gonna ride the bench, and he's just cheap. That's all we want him for. He's cheap, and he gets 2 points. If we need him, he comes in, gets us 2 points. Fantastic. Other midfielders that we have to look at. Now, potentially looking at a Arsenal midfielder in this situation if I didn't want to go for a more expensive one. Me personally, though, I think I want to fill this mid-price midfield slot with the likes of a City player, a Grealish or a Foden. And the reasoning for that is because if I need to get to any of these emerging midfielders, so let's say Firmino's out for another long spell, Jota comes straight in. Mason Greenwood looks like he catches fire, or when the United fixtures turn better, Greenwood comes straight in. Mason Mount comes back for Chelsea, and the defense doesn't look as sure. Mason Mount comes in, or you can go to any different midfielders, and you can always drop them down and upgrade somebody. If you wanted to say, the midfielders aren't looking all that great, downgrade a Grealish, go up on one of the forwards, or downgrade a Grealish, up Livramento. There's many different ways you can do it. But I think Grealish is going to be kind of the safer pick. I would like Phil Foden, personally, because I think he could potentially see a lot more of a ceiling, no matter which role he plays. So I'm going to put Grealish in there for now. Forward line, though, I think it's pretty straightforward. Romelu Lukaku goes in for me 100%. And it's just a matter of how you want to spend this extra 18.5 million. Now, in most weeks, you're playing 4 at the back. So you have to kind of, think about that, consider it, and think, who do I want to be playing week in, week out? Do I want to be playing my 3 forwards, or do I want to be playing 4 midfielders? Now, you don't necessarily have to have a player on your bench that's a dud. You don't necessarily have to go for 4.5 million, kind of forward. You can go for somebody that's going to be effective. So, one player that's on our list would be Ivan Toney, as an example. Ivan Toney, 6.3 million, very cheap. Still leaves us with 12.2 million available to go for somebody. His fixtures from game week 10 to game week 16 are great, and you can always rotate him out for something depending on the situation. So if we look at Saka as an example, Saka has a really good fixture in game week 11 versus Watford at home. Toney has Norwich at home. Jack Grealish has Man United away. You could, in theory, play Saka and Toney and bench Grealish for that week if you think that probably suits you. The cheap forwards and the mid-price midfielder and the cheaper midfielders are the ones you can rotate, because you're probably going to be playing some of the most of the defenders game in, game out. You could drop Cancelo and still play Grealish, but there are the options there. You still can do that sort of thing, is what I'm saying. Now, if you went for another cheaper forward as well, that could be the likes of Adam Armstrong, who has very good fixtures, and it would leave us 6.2 million. He has some good fixtures in the interim. Personally, though, I think that it's probably better to go for a more mid-price forward, because if one emerges again, like an Antonio, like a Calvert-Lewin, we can alleviate just a small amount of funds, and we can make the swap nice and easily. So personally, I think Jimenez is probably going to be one. I would go for Callum Wilson, personally, because I think him and St. Maximin just pair up so good together, and can do well versus the lower teams. But it's just a matter of Callum Wilson just being out. So Jimenez, I think, will be the next best thing. So in this system, we'd be probably playing most of our forwards the majority of the time. And that would mean that we would have to probably sacrifice Grealish. It's basically, do you want a mid-price forward or a mid-price midfielder? And you have to weigh up the options. Which one are there going to be more things that I want to go to? Is it midfield or is it the forward line? So if it is the forward line, then Grealish drops down to the likes of a Saka, and then you go for an Mbeumo or an Mbeumo or Mbamo or however you want to pronounce it. And then in most game weeks, you're playing your back four, you're playing Salah, you're playing Rafinha, you're playing Lukaku, you're playing Jimenez, and then you say who has the better fixture? Is it Arsenal or is it Brentford? Or is it Southampton? Maybe you want to play Livramento. So in a situation where Ivan Toney plays Chelsea at home in game week 8, Livramento plays Leeds at home. Maybe he's more likely for an attacking return there. Saka plays Crystal Palace at home. So you could bench the Brentford boys, play Jimenez, Lukaku, Rafinha, Salah, Saka, and play 5 at the back. You could do that if you wanted to. You could also mix it up a little bit, and instead of having the likes of Toney as your forward, if you did have somebody different in midfield. You know, this could be also Gallagher as well. We have him on the watch list as well. He could be in there. And we could play him. Saka could be still Ben Rama. Ben Rama's, you know, his fixtures aren't great, but they're still different. There's still something extra. The cheaper midfielders are coming more and more prevalent. And I think that some of the mainstays on the team is going to be double Chelsea defense. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Cancelo probably, Rafinha, Salah. Brownhill's going to be a cheap midfielder. Maybe an Arsenal midfielder is one of those cheap midfielders. Maybe a Crystal Palace midfielder like Gallagher is going to be on there. There's going to be a cheap forward probably. There's going to be a mid-price forward. So that's something you kind of have to weigh up. And then also if you really wanted to just pick and choose which forward has the best fixture, if you wanted to go this way, you could still just go, like I said, you could still just go Grealish and then drop down to like a Edward, and then have Mbeumo or Mbamo, however you want to pronounce it, as your midfielder. And then you can say, okay, come game week 8, Tony plays Chelsea, not great. Grealish plays Burnley. Okay, we're definitely playing Grealish. Rafinha plays Watford. We're definitely playing him. Salah, oh no, Rafinha doesn't play Watford. Rafinha plays Southampton. We're playing him. Lukaku plays somebody really good. Brentford. We're playing him. Edward plays Arsenal. Not ideal. And Mbeumo plays Chelsea. So maybe you go, okay, we're playing Grealish, we're playing Lukaku, we're playing Salah, we're playing Rafinha. We're playing our back four. So that's 4, 3, and 1. So we still need an extra couple. Maybe you say, okay, maybe Edward gets something versus Arsenal, and then we play Livramento versus Leeds, and you go for something like that. That is something you could also potentially do, and you can go even cheaper up front as well if you wanted to go Dennis, or if you wanted to go straight down to a 4.5 million forward. Although you don't have to necessarily do that. You can easily upgrade and make things the way you want it to be, as you please, basically. So when it comes time to get rid of Chelsea assets, you can alleviate some out of your defense. You could go direct to other City defenders, as an example. So Azpilicueta can easily become Diaz. So, as an example, in game week 12, when they play Leicester, Ronaldo gets that Watford away fixture, right? That Watford away fixture, you could take out Lukaku and bring in Ronaldo. And then you take out your Chelsea defenders for an extra City defender. Because in game week 13, West Ham at home, City can do well there. You can get Diaz in. You can get potentially a Liverpool defender. They play Southampton at home. Maybe a Van Dijk comes in for you as well. You can drop it down to a much cheaper defender if it looks like the fixtures are going well for another team. You just kind of have to play around with it. But this is kind of something what I'm looking at on the wild card. The 4 at the back, definitely. It's just a matter of, do I want that extra, that 5th defender of just another solid defender? And I've even considered just play 3-5-2, or 5-3-2, sorry, with Diaz. Just have 2 cheap midfielders. Don't really worry about them. And then play Rafinha, Salah, and then another midfielder with Lukaku and a mid-priced or a cheaper forward, and just go from there. So that would look something along the lines of, I'll just restore Antonio for the time being. This would be just a cheap 4.5 million forward. This would be the likes of Diaz. And this would be Sissoko, and this could be like Jimenez as an example. The budget is tight and it's definitely doable, but basic game in, game out, you'd be playing Grealish, Rafinha, Salah, Lukaku, Jimenez, and then just a back 5. And you should be getting clean sheets most weeks and attacking returns. It could be quite good. That's something I've also toyed around with. But maybe a little bit more flexibility with the money that you can save off Diaz, as an example, with Livramento, could mean spreading the money a little bit elsewhere and securing yourself bench-wise. Now, Brownhill and Sissoko are probably going to play most weeks and get you 2 points, but it leaves you a little bit inflexible. So, yeah. Hey, Mono, how's it going? Yeah, we're just about to wrap up, actually. I hope everything is going well with you as well. But, yeah, this is kind of something that I've also toyed with, the five at the back, rotating goalkeepers, cheap, premium, mid-priced in midfield, mid-priced and premium up front. So yeah. Was playing FIFA 22 just out. I don't even have a PS5 yet, so I gotta get one of those. So, but yeah, this is how the team looks at the moment. So we got Sanchez, Shaw, Veltman, Trent, Fornals, Benrahma, Sarr, Salah, Ings, Antonio, and Ronaldo captain, with Gilmore, Ayling, and Tsimikas on the bench, with Begovic on the bench as well. But yeah, that's the team as it stands of now. Most likely going to be Shaw out for some type of Chelsea defender, unless Shaw's playing, in which case we'll take out Ayling for a Chelsea defender, because we have enough money to do that, and Veltman would probably make way to the bench and solidify our bench a little bit. But yeah, just before we leave, I'm going to talk about the Fantasy Football Scout again. So, Fantasy Football Scout is a fantastic place where you can use stats, heat maps, and a whole bunch more to help elevate your FPL game. You're going to be able to do many different things in there. There's going to be members of the community in there as well. Fantasy Football Scout, they're going to share their own stats tables. There's forums, there's articles, there's all sorts of stuff, and it's going to help you out. It helps me inform myself for my videos, as well as help inform you guys as well, for the information that I'm giving you for it. And we also integrate it, like we did last week, in the deadline stream, and we'll be doing it again this coming week as well. Now that we have a little bit more data to look at, like the goals imminent table, we can look at the fixture ticker and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's going to help elevate your FPL game. It's helped elevated mine this season, and I guarantee you do the same for you, or at least it should do. But yeah, so let's move over to the big screen. Yeah, so once again, apologies for the kind of technical issues and being slightly late. We'll cut that out in post, as they say it. So if you're watching this over on YouTube, you'll only know what I just said, basically. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. We'll be back tomorrow with the videos as per normal. We got a wild card video coming this week as well. On the Thursday, we'll be taking a look at a couple of drafts and some tinkering in a bit more depth, potentially looking at rotating goalkeepers as well. And yeah, we'll post that on the Thursday. The normal stuff as well this week: captaincy, buy, hold, sell, and the lineup preview. Deadline stream as per normal is on a pinned comment down below. It's going to be 1 hour before the FPL deadline as usual. And yeah, thank you all for watching. And until the next one, take care.